Survivor's ready. Go!
Travis spoken.
Boston Rob and Amber are gonna do it.
This is a business trip, as I like to say.
You, Brad Culpepper.
I'm tired of you and the fucking chicken.
You can call me the puppet master. They can be my little puppets.
It's not like you're making me deal with the devil here.
You get to milk your own milk, I guess.
Who the hell voted for me? Chicken.
Damn! We got enough rocks here, too. We could build a pretty decent shelter just using rocks.
I'm supposed to talk Lima to you. You understand that better?
Direct from Hobart, it's time for the only Survivor podcast in Australia dedicated to Survivor, bringing you all the latest interviews, episodes, and opinions from the greatest reality show on the planet. It's Survivor Oz, and here's your host, Ben Waterworth.
Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to Survivor Oz, Australia's only Survivor radio show and podcast, as we come to you for Worlds Apart, Episode 2, Oztopsy, and we are not live again. Yes, well, we are treating this like it's live, but we are recording this and you can't enjoy us at the time of airing it. But whatever, wherever you're listening to us right now, we hope you have had a good day. But joining me on the line, I have two Ozlets to chat about the second episode of Survivor Worlds Apart, all the way from, I can't say Sandy Bay now, from South Hobart. It's Paul and Trell. Paul, welcome back.
Hey, yeah, good to be here. It's very, very windy here in South Hobart. I'm not sure if it's like that up there for you in West Moona.
It is. It's a bit windy. It's cold there. South Hobart's a very cold suburb. You get snow there in winter, so...
Yeah, it is a bit cold. And we're on the second floor, so the wind is kind of exaggerated a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
We get that up here, up in the hills, I suppose,
yeah.
West Moona, so I know how you
The
feel.
hills.
The hills are alive. And also, speaking of hills, well, they're plains, but whatever. From Emu Plains, Jared Lubeck's back. Hello, Jared. How are you, sir?
I am good.
That's good. How's the weather in Sydney? Are you experiencing cold, warm, medium? What's it like in autumn now?
Just a bit of everything. It's fine at the moment. Last night it was pretty humid, but quite nice tonight.
It's very humid when I was in Sydney the other week. Like, I'm not used to Sydney being humid, but interesting weather. Anyway, it's I can tell you I'm sitting here with the heater on, and it's 5 days into autumn, so go us, or the fall for our American listeners. But we're not here to talk about the weather. This isn't Weather Oz, this is Survivor Oz, and we're here to talk about the second episode of Worlds Apart. I'm going to start with you, Jared. Initial thoughts on this episode?
I thought it was a really strong episode. I think it sort of set up lots of points that will probably come back later in the season, and I really enjoyed it from the start to the finish. Plenty of time at camp, so that was really good.
Paul?
Yeah, I did quite enjoy it. I like the way it was kind of spread out. We didn't see that much of the white-collar tribe, but what we saw from the white-collar was pretty kind of hilarious. We did see a lot of the kind of relationships forming and setting up in the no-collar, the way everyone kind of interacted with one another, just about, anyway. And I was a little bit disappointed with the elimination of Vince. I thought that he was going to be a lightning rod in the season. He was just going to be an absolute disaster that would just was going to be a train that was just smashing through things all the way to the end. I was hoping that would happen. But yeah, not to be.
It's the one episode where all of a sudden it sort of clicked with me, and I'm like, don't mind Vince now. Like, he's a bit crazy, but yeah, don't mind him. And then he gets voted out. So
yeah.
It was interesting. I will say that, like, I feel this episode had so many, like, comparisons to older seasons, which I'll get to. I mean, you know, obviously Richard Hatch and things like that, but I got a real Amazon vibe from a lot of moments in this episode. Like, we had kind of crazy Vince, like crazy Matt, you know, obviously Nina and the hearing impairment, you know, Christy, and then kind of like Jen and Haley. I was kind of thinking, like, is this like Jenna and Heidi? Like, I don't know, like, Paul, was that just me? Was kind of an Amazon? I just got this weird Amazon connection this episode.
Yeah, I definitely got that as well. It basically played out the way that Christy, the kind of relationship between Christy and the two evil stepsisters, it kind of went basically the same way. There was kind of a misunderstanding, and then from then on, people just went their separate ways and stuck to their guns. Really, no one after that initial kind of confrontation, no one seemed to make an effort to change it, which is basically what happened in Amazon. So yeah, I get what you're saying there.
Jared?
Yeah, I could see it. You had sort of Mike as Butch with the firewood as well.
Yes.
So I'm just waiting for the camp to burn down.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I didn't even click on that one. But, go get some fucking wood or whatever he said. I will say, I mean, this episode was very sweary. It was very nakedy. And it was very manties. There's a new word for the Survivor vocabulary. Jared, have you ever called your underwear your manties?
I have not, and I don't plan to.
Paul, is that something you say to Caitlin? Like, hey, Caitlin, can you wash my manties?
No. I wish I could say yes, but no.
Not implying that Caitlin does you do your own washing, of course.
I do. You know, I'm a 21st century man.
Exactly. So am I. But one thing I wrote down straight away at the start of this episode, like always these, like previously on Survivor parts, and there's always like these little focuses on people that kind of you're thinking, okay, well this person's going to play a part in this episode. I straight away wrote down that either Nina, Dan, or Joaquin was getting voted out because just it was all about them in the preview. Nina was the closest to that, but clearly I was wrong. I mean, Paul, when they do these, do you think sometimes with these focuses, I mean, clearly this week it wasn't the case, are they a little bit obvious sometimes in these previously on Survivors in who the focus is going to be on the episode?
Yeah, they definitely are, among other things, really. I think generally the order in which they show what's going on in camp is usually a giveaway to who's going to Tribal Council. Generally, the tribe that we see last before the challenge, that tribe generally doesn't go to Tribal Council because we've already seen enough of them, but I think they've been switching it up a little bit this season. As you said in the preview, I have to say I was kind of getting settled and I didn't really see the preview that well, so I can't answer it.
Jared?
I'm not entirely sure on the question, but I will say, yes, I do think sometimes they tend to give stuff away in the previously on Survivor.
That's basically the question. So, yeah. And a big hello to our friends in previously on Survivor. I haven't dealt with them in about a month, and I feel the freest I have been in my entire life. Can I just say that? Now, going through the episode, we mentioned on the Manties. This was a very fattest episode. Is that the correct word? Like Lindsay mentioning Dan the fat guy. We had Jeff Probst later on in the challenge being like, really? Dan, you're not going to sit out? Like, it was kind of like, what? The fat guy can't do the challenge? And then even like Dan's like, oh, just because I'm a fat guy, I'm going to prove you wrong, which he did. I mean, can we just point that out? But, I mean, he's not that fat, Paul.
No, I think it was probably more of a Danist episode. I think a Danist, which is probably justified. But I think that Mike is starting to steal some of that heat away from him.
Yes.
But yeah, Dan, I think that he probably plays it up a bit. I think that he's the kind of guy that if he was remotely offended by anything, he'll kind of blow it up to something that's bigger. He'd probably make a joke about it, but he'd probably take it a little bit more seriously than it's intended. But he proved them wrong today. He did well in that challenge, and it was good to see. Good to see that the dynamics of that tribe changing a little bit.
I haven't had a chance to see any social media reaction to this episode because basically I've watched the episode come straight on here. I've avoided social media all day, so I'm not too sure kind of what the social media vibe is. But like with Dan, I'll go to Jared with this one. Like, any Rupert-ish vibes in terms of like this fun-loving guy who's making clothing out of like bits and I don't know, like is that a good? How's that for a comparison? I don't know how that's for a comparison, Jared.
I suppose I can kind of see it. I think sort of from last episode they definitely sort of showed more of a negative side to Dan, which they kind of tended to avoid, I suppose, with Rupert. But I could see him sort of turning into this sort of fan favourite that the everyday person on the street really sort of gets behind, just because they're a bit more of an, I suppose, average, everyday American, potentially.
Paul, do you see any Rupert? Like, I'm talking Pearl Island's early days Rupert.
Yeah, a little bit. But I don't think they're showing him. They're not really showing him as the victim. Whereas they kind of painted Rupert as this kind of victim of bullying. Whereas I think Dan, they're just chalking him up to being a bit more of a goofball. Really, he's this weird guy who is really confrontational, but also a bit mental, but kind of funny as well. Yeah.
We did say that you wouldn't forget him.
Yeah.
As he said, after the intro, the intro, like, we got a bit of a lengthier intro than we used to. Sounded very much like the Heroes vs. Villains theme. I don't know if anyone picked that up.
I thought there was China in there as well. There was those kind of dainty Chinese voices in there.
Well, Russ Landau's not involved. Like, they don't create new themes anymore. So I'm guessing, David Vanderkoor's, I think, still involved. So he's probably just gone, bit of Heroes vs. Villains, bit of China, bit of this. Because, like, if you listen to the Heroes vs. Villains scenes, it starts off a deeper, it's a bit slower. So I don't know, mate. And yeah, I didn't pick up on the China one, but that was just a random note I put here. The only real white collar bit that we got to see was, a little bit too much of Max and Shirin. I mean, was that the only bit of white collar we saw, Paul?
I think we did. That was just the first kind of thing right at the start of the episode. It was white collar, their beach, doing all the naked stuff and seeing how awkward Tyler was around nudity. That was kind of hilarious. That was a bit of a highlight.
And I will take this opportunity to apologise to Tyler for any implications that he might be gay in the preview episode. Clearly he's not. He's married. He could be married to a man, but that's probably I'm just digging myself a hole. But I didn't. If I imply that in effect, whatever. But I love the fact that he was so awkward about that. If he's married to a man or a woman, and he's awkward about that. I'm in a relationship. Paul, you're in a relationship. If we're out there and there's a naked person standing in front of us, are you going to be that awkward about it? It's just a naked body.
I think, you'd probably, after the initial shock, you'd get over it within a couple of seconds, and it would be nothing. So, yeah, it's strange. It was almost, there was some real kind of repression there. I thought maybe he hasn't. Maybe they're very. I don't know. I'm gonna bail out from this. I'm not gonna say anymore.
I love the fact that if you watch that scene again, Joaquin was looking right at Shirin's area.
Yeah,
he was looking.
He was making up for Tyler's lack of looking.
I can imagine in any awkward situation, But the thing that I found weird about it is generally in those situations with when it comes to women with certain removing clothing, it's usually they'll walk around topless and put their bottoms on.
Hey, she's a Harold and Kumar fan. Yeah. She's going for the bottomless thing. Yeah.
But good on her. We're getting a bit of kookiness from Shirin, and I liked Max's reasoning. It was very Richardy, of the whole nakedness thing, and and we got our question answered. We asked that in the preview episode, which former contestant will be mentioned first. We get the answer with Richard Hatch. I don't know who everybody answered. We do that usually in the Ozcap at the end of the season. But Jared, the whole nudity on the white collar tribe. What's going on there?
Oh, I thought it was great. I think the Tyler bit was just sort of the best part about it. Just how he was obviously so confronted by it. It was just hilarious. Looking at him trying not to watch. And I like that. I suppose there was kind of a point to it too, that Max was saying how it was just really good to get some alone time to just gather his thoughts without anybody coming near him. So
it's these moments. I mean, we mentioned it, I think, a little bit last week. It's these random moments that they show early on that sometimes, when you rewatch it and you know how the season plays out, it's obvious why they've shown them. So is this a character-driven moment, Jared, for Max? Do you think this is him saying, "Oh, I'm getting these moments alone"? Do you think this is, showing strategic Max that this is going to take him far? Do you think that's going to have any overbearing elements onto how well he does in this game?
I probably wouldn't read that much into it. I think potentially even more so just the fact that it showed him and Shirin really thinking alike, I suppose, and I like the fact that it shows Shirin saying Max is a massive fan of this game, and at that point it didn't intimidate her. It wasn't he's a massive fan, so I need to get rid of him sooner rather than later. She brought up that was something they could really bond over and was something that they had in common.
I love the fact too that the camera man or woman kept zooming in on Shrin's ass. Like they obviously knew it was going to be blurred out, but like, and she fell nearly like AOT on the rocks. That would have been an injury.
Yeah, I mean, awful.
Oh, goodness me. So that was basically the end of the white collar tribe of that entire episode. I did have to laugh, like, not at the fact that Nina can't hear before I say this, but I loved, like, that little interaction where, Hayley's like going, "You've got a blister on your ankle." She's like, "That's nice." She's like, "No, you've got a blister on your ankle."
Yeah.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that.
Yeah, I thought that a cochlear implant was more effective than that. I thought that you could hear quite well with next to normal with a cochlear implant.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with, but yeah, I thought, like, I noticed in Tribal Council that, you know, back in Amazon, Christy would, like, literally turn and, like, stare at the person as they were talking so she could understand them, whereas, like, Nina wasn't really doing that, so she could obviously hear to an extent, if you know what I mean. So
yeah,
maybe it was loud and like I don't understand how they work. So
yeah.
But we got more skinny dipping. I much appreciated the no collar skinny dipping of Jen and Hallie and Hayley. I keep calling her Hallie. And I love Jen's quote that I had an amazing time skinny dipping with my friend. I really want to be friends with those two. Can I just point that out? And then, do you think, Paul, that Nina was I know Nina was upset because she didn't get asked to join in, but do you think Nina maybe wanted to go skinny dipping with the girls too?
I don't think she knew that they'd actually gone skinny dipping. I thought she just thought they went swimming. Maybe she couldn't see that they'd taken off their clothes, but yeah, it was strange. I think she was just upset that she didn't get included. Which, I mean, yeah, it's probably a bit of an overreaction, I think.
Jared, was it an overreaction from Nina, her little tanty?
I think a little bit, but I think potentially sort of more happened behind the scenes. I mean, we saw sort of Hayley really trying to sort of include her sort of early on in what we saw from the no-callers, and then it seemed like a really sudden turnaround, but I assume that there was probably some other things that maybe happened along the way.
I think, was it Jen who said, like, it's day 4, you should be crying? You know, I mean, Lisa had already cried like 58 times in Philippines by, you know, episode 4, so, but, I mean, I can understand, it's obviously hard for Nina, like, and I mean, I'm sure the age also plays a huge part into that. I mean, as much as I hate seeing that kind of thing happen, but I mean, look, Nina's 51, nearest to her age is Will, who's 41, and she's got 2 women who are, you know, more than half her age, like Hayley's 25 and Jen's 22. I mean, you know, they're her daughters. They could be her daughters. I mean, that I'm sure, Paul, that's very strange. Like, I mean, picture that if you're on a tribe and you're, you know, 20-odd and you're on a tribe of 50-year-olds. Like, you're going to feel out of place.
Yeah, definitely. But I also think that she should have been more mature and expected, okay, they're in their 20s or whatever. They're probably not going to go and ask me to go for a skinny dip or whatever. They're going to go off and muck around with themselves. And she should realise that, you know, the gap between them is not necessarily something that she's on the outside. She should have more life experience and more. She should be. What I'm saying is, she should be more centered and maybe be a little bit more calm. She came off as the really immature one in that circumstance, I thought.
Jared, was she immature?
Yeah, I could see it a little bit. I think sort of Will did a good job of, or I don't know if it was Will or Vince. I'm pretty sure it was Will, of just bringing up that they were younger, and I think he probably talked sort of a bit of sense into her.
Will had a good episode. I think I wrote down straight away, Will gets to talk. Considering, actually, I will say, like, the official confessional count from last week, Will actually got 3 confessionals last week, so maybe I wasn't paying too much attention to Will, but Will shone this episode. We'll talk about it. But we went... Go, Paul.
Sorry, I was going to talk about Will. I was just thinking when I was watching Tribal Council, has Dreams just put on a few pounds and maybe assumed a different identity, and now he's back playing Survivor again? Not only that, he played like Dreams as well. It was ridiculous. I was good. I I hope he plays like Dreams.
And you're a Dreams fan too, aren't you?
I am.
You were one of the ones defending him with me on the rankings cast. Right.
Dreams was brilliant television.
Yeah, I see it. I loved him in Tribal Council when he's like, I'm just looking forward to going back to camp and having some bugs eat some chocolate. I don't want to see you till the end.
Yeah. It's good.
Oh, poor Probe. Shut down. We got some blue collar action. We had Mike busting bats and doing his best butch with the firewood. Rod wanted to work hard. I can't do a Boston accent. Hard. Thank you. Everyone was playing basketball. I love how they conveniently put a camera in the basket. But like again, there's something about Rodney. Like I've got really good feelings about this guy that he's gonna do very well, Paul. Like he's just getting enough screen time and enough relevant confessionals that I see him surprising a lot of people.
Yeah, I do as well. I think of all the male contestants on any of the tribes, I think that he's probably playing as good a game as anyone at the moment. And Mike talked about working hard. All I could think about was in there, were you telling Rodney to work hard? Rodney is working hard. He's working very hard in this game. You can clearly tell that Rodney is a douchebag, but none of that is shown so far to anyone else. So he's working very hard. Mike should maybe take a leaf out of his book and stop, abusing people verbally.
Rodney's like just a mixture of so many things. Like he still just reminds me so much of like Vanilla Ice, but like to me, it's like I think Noah last week talked a lot about him about being like a Russell who doesn't suck or something like that. But like, it's almost like it's Russell and Boston Rob in one. Like, I don't know if that's a good comparison. I'm not just saying because he's from Boston, but like, I don't know. There's just something about the way he's working out and just staying back and doing that. But you can just think he's going to blow up at some point and do a Russell. Like you said, Paul, like he's a bit of a douche. But, like, I don't know. I love the guy. I think he's probably my favourite on the season. I love him. But I don't know. I've got good vibes about him. Jared, do you have good vibes about Boston Rod?
Yeah, I think he's a lot more sort of calm and collected than I expected coming into the season. I thought he'd sort of be just too sort of hyperactive. And, they haven't gone to Tribal Council yet, but I think he's just been so composed and just has made those alliances sort of without even trying that hard. He's just sort of being sort of his natural self, maybe toned down a bit, but it's sort of working.
We then go back to No Collar and we get Creepy Vince staring at Joe, and what was his like weird speech he said to him? I need to have acknowledgement and justification. Like whatever the fuck he said. And then like just the way he stares him down. He likes to lick his lips as well, Vince. Like he was very creepy. But then and then even Jen said it, like Vince scares me. He's off the wall, nuts, he's gonna screw up sometimes. And I think she's like, yeah, he's dangerous, he's on another planet. And we were saying last week that we literally think he is going to kill someone. We're not gonna see that now, but that whole situation, but like with Vince pulling Joe aside, what the hell was that?
Yeah, that was a bit unnecessary, I think. I think there are more subtle ways to go about it than that. Maybe just pull him aside and say, look, I've been unhappy with the thing. Maybe not in front of everyone, because then it makes a big thing of it, and then everyone's aware that there's this divide in the tribe. I think there's much better ways to go about it. But after that, I thought that Vince, as you were saying, you don't mind him. I thought that, his game started to pick up a little bit.
Yeah.
He started to show that he was a little bit more game aware than we might have previously thought. But I was really disappointed he got voted out because, there was potential there, not only for him to be maybe an alright player, but definitely a good character, and now that's been cut short.
There was just something about the whole Joe, let's split the vote thing that, like, I just thought that was stupid.
Yes.
Like you're on a tribe of 6, and Will is just sitting there, like going, okay, well, all of a sudden I get to decide who goes home now. Like, and even Joe said it, like, oh, he's off there spending a lot of time with Nina and Vince, so I don't trust him. Yet you're still going to fucking do this split vote thing? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I thought they were going to come to their senses and actually say, maybe we should just vote it as a 3 and then hope that Will votes for whoever. But Will didn't vote for who they told him to anyway. He ended up voting for Vince. He was supposed to vote for Nina.
Yeah. Like, I mean... Does that make Will dumb or does that make Will smart then? Like, I mean, I know Will, he said it, like, he was the swing vote. He had the power there. Did he make the right call in taking out Vince?
No, I don't think so. They're always going to cultivate mistrust, I think, by doing that. By just not following the orders, people know that they can't trust you fully because you just didn't do what you were supposed to do. So you're always going to be not quite in that tight group within that alliance because of that.
Jared, what do you think? Was it a right move for Will to take out Vince?
I don't think so. I think Will's sort of best move was to stick with Vince and Nina, just because then he's probably second in alliance rather than fourth where he is now. But I think getting rid of Vince was probably better for Will than if he'd stuck to the plan and then they'd taken out Nina on the revote, just because Nina she's the only person she really trusts him. Like, fair enough, he didn't vote how she said, but I think he'll easily sort of be able to get her sort of back under his control, and then if a tribe swap or whatever happens, then he knows he's got like a solid number there.
It's the only thing that I just see dangerous about that situation is that, I mean, I think you're right there that, like, he can get Nina back on board, but, like, I mean, hypothetically, a tribe switch happens next week and Nina, you know, is on a tribe with Will, and Nina can just go over, you know, like a Frank and T-Bird situation on Africa and just be like, hey, you know, Silas was a douche to us, or whatever, so, hey, you know, Will was a douche, get rid of him, you know, so, I don't know, like, it's a difficult one, because there won't be a switch next week, you would assume there wouldn't be, but yeah, I don't know. I just still can't get over the fact that Joe went along with that whole like split the vote thing. Like,
yeah, but I still feel Will. I mean, he had 3 options laid out really that he could have chosen. He probably chose the worst of all of them. In terms of the position he's now put himself in. If he had just done what he needed to do with Joe and voted for Nina, then he would have been in reasonably tight with them. It wouldn't have separated him so much. If he had have gone with Vince and Nina and voted out whoever they wanted to vote out, then he would have been in tight with them. He chose to go basically rogue, and now I think that his position's not going to be that solid.
Do you think in the end it was Nina who basically... Because, I mean, I was writing that down when Nina was like, how are you? How's your health? Vince said this. That's, to me, that point where I'm like, okay, Nina just fucked that up.
Yeah, she definitely did. That was... Oh, man, I just wanted to slap her when she did that. It was so frustrating. She had a pretty awful episode up until then, but that just put me over the edge. I can't stand Nina now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I mean, we can see that happening. Like, Jared, you were saying, Will can easily get her back inside because you can see probably how that's going to play out next week. Nina's going to be like, dude, what the fuck? And Will's going to be like, well, you told me this about Vince. I couldn't trust him anymore. So, all of a sudden, then Nina can be like, oh, fuck, I'm sorry. You know, so in the end, Jared, Nina's only got herself to blame for that.
Yeah, exactly. That was just a horrible moment, and I was so looking forward to sort of this vote working out and the people splitting the vote getting blindsided and Jen going home, and then as soon as Nina said that, I was like, oh no.
It was like when they put up, you know, the hashtag blindside, it's like generally for the most part, it's not really a blindside, but in a way it kind of was. I felt a little bit with Vince. Like, we talked a lot about this last season with like viewer blindsides. Like, I honestly thought that Jen was going home. Like, I was kind of shocked that Vince went. Like, I don't know if either of you felt that way.
A little bit, just for a second there, I kind of was. I thought that, because I expected if Will was going to go with Joe and whatever, he'd follow their plan. I didn't expect him to go completely rogue. So yeah, I was a little bit shocked when Jeff went straight to reading out the person who was voted out, having there not being a re-vote. So yeah. Jared,
were you shocked at all by it?
Oh yeah, a little bit. Just exactly what Paul said. I thought, okay, we're going for a 2-2 tie, or otherwise it's if it comes down to sort of 3-2-1, then it's probably going to be Jen going home. So yeah, it was a little bit of a surprise.
I kind of, well, it's not really cheating, but in terms of, I knew it wasn't going to be a tie because I looked at the timestamp and I was like, okay, there's only like 2 minutes to go, so it can't be a tie. Yeah, anyway. I mean, in terms of Vince, like, Noah talks about the first boots. I love my second boots. And given that, halfway through this episode, I'm like, oh, actually, I don't mind Vince. Jared, where does Vince rank as a second boot in the history of Survivor? Like, in the second boot club?
I think he's up there as a memorable character. I mean, I wanted him to stick around. I didn't want him to go. Also, because he was my pick in the sweep, so that didn't help. But no, I think he's one of the more memorable ones.
Yeah, Paul, I don't think we'll ever forget Vince.
No, I don't think we will. He was pretty a colourful character. Added quite a bit of spice to the cast, really, and it's disappointing to see someone who was that kind of I don't know, someone who kind of lit up the screen or whatever and gave you something to talk about, someone to mock or whatever. It's sad to see them go so early.
Haven't mentioned many confessionals. I'll get to that soon, but we touched on this last week, and we should really point this out this week, that a record has been created on a season with 3 tribes. This is the very first time on a 3-tribe season where the tribe that lost the first week hasn't then lost the second week. So it's history that a 3-tribe season, 2 different tribes have gone to tribal council over the first 2 episodes. So I think that's notable to mention, and it would be fantastic if Blue Collar went to tribal council next week, so we really had an even season. So
yeah,
I would love to see that happen. Nothing against the Blue Collar tribe, but I would love to see that happen. Mention the challenge, decent challenge. Jeff Probst, I think, lost his voice in that challenge. Go Blue Collar! Go White Collar! And again, as we mentioned already, like, Probst's reaction to fucking Dan not sitting out, like, come on, Jeff, like, what, it's been that long since you've had a man who's slightly chummy on the show? Like, I was offended, Paul.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's not like it's a bloody long distance run on the beach or something. He's swimming for the most part, it's in the water. He looks like a guy who might be fairly good at swimming. So, and
he dominated. Like, he stood up to what he said he was going to do. Like, as soon as he said that, like, I'm going to show you what a fat person, I'm thinking, okay, he's coming dead last, whatever. But he fucking killed it. Like, good on you, Dan. Like, I hope he's listening to this, because I love that. Like, I mean, does that mean if they had, like, eat the most amount of hamburgers in 60 seconds challenge and you got, like, an anorexic person, like, and they decide not to sit that person out, is Chef going to be like, really? You're not going to, like, come on.
And then they just Kobayashi that whole thing, and
Oh, and apparently also I learnt in that challenge that there's somebody called Kelly on this season.
Yeah. How many? She had to have less this week than last week.
Yeah, she had none. She had none. She had one last week and none this week.
Jeez.
Purple
Kelly.
We got Blue Kelly.
Blue Kelly.
There were 4 people this episode that didn't get a confessional. Caroline, amazingly, she got 13 last week, none this week. Dan didn't get he got a confessional, didn't he?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he got one at the start. Kelly didn't get one and Sierra didn't get one. I swear Dan got a confessional at the start. Anyway. So maybe it's that 10-second rule.
Oh, he did get one in the previously on Survivor. They showed one of him last week.
Right, okay. Oh, there's a wind there, Paul. Blew a window open, did it? Wow.
No, it's just really loud on the window.
Wow. There you go. Challenge in general, Jared, what did you think of the challenge?
I liked it apart from sort of the shooting element at the end. I don't know, I would rather have just been kind of like a straight relay, nothing at the end, just whichever two teams got through it first.
Mm-hmm. Will completely fucked up with the tying, but it didn't really matter in the end because it was really their shooting that cost them in the end. I mean, they caught right back up. Joaquin dominated it with the shooting. Joe completely did not. Then, we get White Collar winning, followed by Blue Collar, then No Collar, of course, lose. I've written here, where's Kelly? written that there. And yeah, then we had the whole situation vote up. We sort of covered all that already. But one thing I didn't mention with the challenge is the whole arrival via boat. We haven't seen something like that in a while. I like that sort of. I don't know. That was just a random point I wanted to make out. Like, have them all arrive. And I always love the first reaction, like after the first vote, when they like have no clue. Like half of them wouldn't have a clue who So was. And then they've got that look on their face like, oh, that person was voted out. It's not like last season, you know, when like Natalie's obviously very upset that Nadia is gone.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, so, yeah. Her. Oh, what a shame. So, yes. We've covered all that pretty well. We've gone over. It's easy with two people. Every week. Next week, I liked it when Vince got voted out and he just said, "Good play," and he just walked out. And then he's all like, "This experience was amazing." Like, what was he on there, Paul, for 6 days?
Yeah, I'm not sure what he could have taken in that much. I guess 6 days. It's probably, if you're just out there for a bit of a holiday, a little bit of a bite of what it'd be like to live out in the wilderness. 6 days is probably all right. You're probably not starving by then, so maybe he did enjoy himself.
Well, I suppose you could also say that, like, to us it's 2 weeks, but, like, you know, 6 days is basically a week, and, you know, time, I'm sure, stands still a little bit out there while you're there. I mean, Jared, how do you think you'll cope? Do you think you take much away from 6 days out there?
I think I'd be alright.
Think you'd be alright? You'd be out there longer than 6 days anyway, though, wouldn't you? I mean, be honest.
One would hope so, yeah.
I have faith in you, Jared. I have faith in you. Before we get to, obviously, like, our questions and the things that we closed it out with in the confessionals, looking at next week, we have surfing going on next week. And, yeah, Mike just losing his shit. What the fuck's going on with Mike, Paul?
And then Rodney throwing down the stack of I know he laughed so hard. Throwing down the stack of wood, that was good.
Oh, that's
Mike though. Mike's going a bit nuts. I think that there were a few signals there in the in his bio and stuff that the guy might be a little bit intense.
Volatile,
so,
a bit volatile.
Yeah.
Had a couple interactions with some of our Ozlets that are a little bit volatile. So, look, hello, Mike, if you're listening, we do like you. Please don't get angry at us. I really would like Alina to make a poster of Rodney with, like, vanilla ice and have it rice baby.
He's straight off the Jersey Shore, though. They've essentially just pulled a guy off the Jersey Shore and just... Yeah, he's there.
My favourite character from my favourite TV show, Bosco from Third Watch, he just reminds me kind of like, you know, Bosco's this tough as nuts, like, NYPD officer, you know, and, like, you know, Rodney's reminding me a little bit of him, so I think that's a lot of the reason why I like him, so, yeah. Confessionals-wise, this episode, Vince ended up with the most this episode. He got 6. Just scrolling through, Jenny's leading right now. She's on 14. She got 4 this episode. Joe's had 8. Will's had 7. Haley's 4. Nina's only had 3. Felt like we saw a lot more of her than just 3 confessionals. As I said, Carolyn, 13 in the first episode to none. Don't have the stats in front of me, but that could be the biggest drop ever. From, like, 13 in one episode to none in the next. And without having to be voted out, I should say. Max, 3 this week, so a total of 6. Shireen had 1, total of 4. And Tyler 1, total of 4. On Blue Collar, Mike's had 7 in total. Rodney's had 6. Dan's had 6. Sierra's 4. Did she really have 4 last week?
I can't remember hearing anything from her.
The only one I remember from Sierra last week was the whole, like, oh, I don't believe them that they did this. See, Lindsay, like, this is the strange thing about this. Like, Sierra's apparently had 4. Lindsay's had 3. To me, we've seen a lot more of Lindsay than we have of Sierra.
Yeah.
Strange. Oh, Kelly. Okay. She's had 1. So, what is it about Kelly's in Nicaragua's? Like, why do we never see them? Like, come on, guys. All right, pony-wise, Jared, you already mentioned it. You gone, my friend?
Not good.
Sorry. Who have you got again, Paul?
I've got Joaquin.
You've got Joaquin.
He took a step up for me this week. He was, he's going pretty badly last week. He was on the bottom, but now he's looking all right.
Got my $15 back last week for my first one, but my second one is just completely invisible, Kelly. So, according to Jeremy on our power rankings, he's picked to win still, apparently. So.
I don't think you can get that invisible of an edit early on and win. But then again, they are changing things up.
Yeah.
I think the editors are always changing things up.
Well, Natalie didn't get a huge edit at the start of last season, so
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
she wasn't around a lot. So
it would be surprising, I'll say, if she did win. Or who knows? Maybe next week she'll get 13.
Well, I think
confessions.
Well, I mentioned in my words about last week's episode, I'm calling it the Jacqueline effect. Like, you never know about Kelly because. Fuck, this time last season, each week we say, Jacqueline's gone. She's had like one confessional by Jacqueline. She ended up as the runner-up. So, yeah, who knows? Yeah. Now, in terms of our predictions, what we said pre-season about dear old Vincey Wincy, let's start off with who picked him to go the high. Well, Rossi said he would be second. So, Rossi, you're not close. Sorry. Joppy said that he would be 12th, so that's the closest so far. Noah also said he would be 12th, so they're winning. Julian said he would be 8th, not close there. Jared, you said he would be 8th as well. Sorry. Paul, you remember where you put him?
Somewhere fairly reasonably high.
4th.
I expected. Wow, yeah.
So that means that Joppy and Noah are leading. However, I said he would be 16th. So
pretty close.
I got the point again. 2 weeks in a row. I've started off quite well here. I'm on 2, Noah and everyone else is on 0. So, yeah, I'm just rigging this so that I can win. So, in terms of 16th... for next week, well, Vince to me was my 16th. So, Paul, you reckon Shirin's going next, according to your pre-season predictions?
Yeah.
And Jared, you think Dan... Well, there you go. You got Dan next.
Hopefully.
Possibility. Noah's got...
2 points. But I put it down, so it won't happen.
Ah, right. Okay, true.
So you're safe, Dan. You're all good.
Noah's got Lindsay going next. Julian's got Will going next. And Joppy has Joaquin. And Rossi has Sierra. Very good even spread right along there. So, yeah, pretty good there. Okay. Final set of questions, and I'll just go through a few housekeeping matters. This will probably be our shortest ever Oztopsy. Good on us. Your tip to win, Paul, right now after 2 weeks.
It's really hard. I feel like I should probably start to think about maybe changing my preseason vote, but I'll still stick with it. I think that
still going with the Joseph.
Yeah, I mean he's still in a position. In terms of his tribe, within his tribe, where he's in the majority. So, yeah, even though they're not in as strong a position, their tribe overall, as they were last week, I'll still stick with it.
Jarrod?
I'm going to say Max.
Maxi Waxy? Yeah, I've still got Max's. Oh, excuse me. Although, no, I haven't done my power rankings yet, so I don't know. I think I had Tyler last week at number 1. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. I've just seen the episode. Let me digest it. Your dark horse to win, Jared.
Will.
Paul.
Let's say Rodney.
I said that in the pre one that my grade 5 teacher used to call dog shits Rodney. We used to go on this annual walk each year, and then every time there was a dog shit on the road, she'd be like, Rodney on the left, Rodney. I don't know why she called it a Rodney. Anyway, who will be next to go, Paul?
Next to go. Well, my preseason thing says Shireen, but I don't think that's quite likely. I am going to say Mike.
Jared?
Nina.
Nina, okay, and that's all the ones I've got to ask you. So we'll say some housekeeping matters before we close it all out. Now, at the time of recording this on a Thursday evening, the Jeremy and Val recap has not been published. Our episode 1 recap has not been published. A few people have been asking about that. Now, just to clarify, we had some technical issues in terms of recording that initially last weekend, so it was bumped back to the middle of the week. Actually was hosted by our favourite Canadian Ozlet, Colin. I haven't even heard it myself yet, I will say, but that will be going up this weekend with our episode 2 recap, so we apologise for the delay there. Now, our episode 2 recap will be with Tina Wesson, Australian Outback winner, of course, and All Stars and Blood vs. Water competitor. Now, I'm recording that on Friday evening. If this Oztopsy goes up before then, get your questions in. I will be posting something up on social media for you to get your questions in to Tina about this week's episode. Next week, our Oztopsy again won't be live. It won't be hosted by myself or even featuring myself. I will be in Melbourne, and I will not have seen the episode in time, so Noah, I believe, will be hosting it. Noah or Colin will be hosting it, so you can tune in for that. And next week, same with our episode recap, Noah or Colin, or possibly even both, will be hosting that one. And next week we have Kathy Sleckman coming back for the first time in a while from Micronesia to recap. It's always a lot of fun with Kathy. She's never short of being brutally honest about things. And can I just say that considering we didn't have any survivors on our pre-season episode and we got into trouble, I'm expecting us to get into trouble next week with Kathy Sleckman on. As long as we don't get Corinne on, apparently. But that's okay, because she was on Rob Has a Podcast. Congratulations to Rob Has a Podcast, who I will say, for their 2 nominations in the Podcast Awards, and I mean that with all sincerity as well. I will also say we're hoping to open up, I've been saying this for a while, that Ozlet applications generally happen around about this time of year. We're hoping to open them up soon, so stay tuned. Oscars are only a couple of months away, so we're hoping to launch those within a month or so and get those categories out there as well. And other than that, I think we've covered a lot of bases, and I think that's all the housekeeping matters that I need to get to. Paul, thank you for your company once again this evening, my friend. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks. It's been good.
Jared, as well, to you, my friend. I'm just watching those lovely ladies play netball. They're in front of those houses, so I hope they're having fun.
Yep, great times.
Yes, indeed. Paul, are you off to the cricket this weekend to watch Zimbabwe play Ireland?
No, I haven't been keeping up with it at all.
No.
But are you going?
I am.
heading over there?
I am.
You are?
I'm by myself, actually, so if you do want to come, please feel free to come along and join me to watch the mites of Zimbabwe and Ireland take on each other at the Cricket World Cup. So if you're not...
Yes, that would be a fantastic game. To Clash of the Titans.
I know, right? Just rivals in the cricketing scheme.
Yep.
So, yes, indeed. Until next week, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope that your manties are kept nice and clean throughout the week. And until we next speak again, my name is Ben. This has been Survivor Oz. We will speak to you next time on The Trains.